I'm super excited to update my DJI aerial drone videography game. I just got the new DJI goggles too, which are pretty amazing. They also have a 1080 LED display inside. But I do want to tell you that if you're interested in these goggles, don't expect to just turn everything on and it instantly all works, because I've had my Mini 3 Pro, which they've added to the list of drones that the DJI 2 goggles work with, but I've had to spend a bunch of time, and you're going to need a full charge on all your batteries and all your devices. There's a bunch of firmware updates you have to load, and they take time, and they do drain the batteries pretty heavy. I've already used 2 batteries this morning just getting my drone firmware updated. I think there have been several updates. My controller, this is how you update the drone. It also requires a network connection, so I had to get on my Wi-Fi to download the updates, and it's taking several rounds of updating everything to get it all updated to where it will all work. So I found the best video on YouTube for how the sequence, when you are all updated and you're ready to connect your goggles and fly, there's a sequence you need to follow. And so I'm working that out right now while I'm waiting on all these updates. And I'm gonna put those links down below in the description for this video. So if you are buying the DJI 2 goggles and are ready to go through the process to get everything updated and connected, definitely look at the video below in the description. Here's another tip. These are fabulous machines. These basically are all have mini computers in them, even the goggles. These goggles have their own heat fan that blows, keep them cool, where the drone doesn't. And when you're pulling data down to it to update, it's burning some serious juice and it gets really hot. But I have multiple drone batteries. I bought the little extras kit with the case and everything. When the battery gets too hot in the drone, it's going to tell you on the RC controller, when these get too hot, they automatically shuts the drone off. So I've already gone through about 3 batteries this morning just downloading and updating all these firmware updates, not just for the drone, but also for the controller. In fact, you can just see it just shut off right there because it's getting too hot. So you're not only going to have to be patient, have lots of charged batteries ready to go, but also give the drone time to cool down in between each update on these goggles, these new goggles. And there's another really great video on the evolution of these, and I'm going to post that down in the description link below as well, down there. You'll hear on the goggles, when they start to get hot, you'll hear the fan kick on and blow air. But apparently they're a lot better than they were before, because if you watch the evolution of the DJI goggles video that I'm going to post below, you'll see just how far they've come. And apparently the very first pair of DJI goggles they put out around 2016 were so hot and so big and heavy and cumbersome that it just didn't take off. And so these new DJI goggles too have really come a long ways. I mean, they're very compact, but you do still have to have a battery connection, but it has a clip on it now so that it doesn't come undone while you're flying. But you're gonna have to wear that in your shirt pocket or whatever while you're flying. Even before I started updating all the firmwares for the goggles, you have limited flight time. You really need to have a flight plan before you start flying, because sometimes if you're doing high altitude, it can take a long time to get up to that height, and then you have a limited amount of time while you're up in the sky. So it's better if you know what you're going to be doing. I have so many batteries that sometimes it's fun just to explore, but you gotta land, you gotta come back to the home base, you gotta land and keep those batteries fresh and also let it cool down. So just some things to know if you're new to the drone and you're interested in it. It is definitely a game changer for videography. So after multiple battery changes, cooling periods, multiple firmware updates, patience and time, and I also had to find a cable to connect to, so the DJI 2 goggles, you have to connect your phone to it in the beginning, and it only comes with this short black piece, which is the new USB to the older USB. And I had to dig around. I mean, I've got tons of cables, and finally found this one that goes from the 9-pin Apple to the old USB to plug in to the DJI adapter that it comes with that goes into the goggles. Again, patience and planning, but I have finally successfully connected my goggles to my drone. This is really exciting. My next step is to connect the motion controller, but the one thing I wanted to point out is that, oh, you can hear the fan kicking on. Hear that? The one thing I wanted to point out is that the goggles have the 1080 resolution LEDs in them, the DJI 2 goggles, and it has its own chip card slot, so you can record everything that you're seeing through your goggles with all of the altimeters, all the information that you would typically see on your remote controller. Shows up through the goggles, and you can record all that, and it's all 1080. So I'm definitely putting a chip in before I take this puppy out for its first maiden flight. So you can see here, here's the micro card slot on the goggles. It's always kind of difficult to get these microchips to lock in. Sometimes I have to use some tweezers. I do that a lot with my GoPros. I have to use tweezers to get the cards in and out. So because this is a complex process, I just finally got the motion controller connected. And of course the battery's hot over here, and you gotta follow the steps that I literally recommend having this guy's video up.
You hear that kind of beeping noise that means that they've connected. So at this point, we can go ahead and fly the Mini 3.
For me, I had to run through the steps a number of times to practice them. If you've done any drone flying at all, it's not that different from your standard DJI initiation and connection with your regular remote controller. You know, with the double, the short press and the long press to turn everything on, and you get the beeping sounds as indicators and that kind of stuff. But because this is 3 things that I'm connecting, and there is a specific sequence that you need to follow, I do recommend practicing it multiple times to get the hang of it. And for me, I'm gonna have notes with me. Even though everything's already connected now, I'm so stressed out from downloading all these firmware updates on every piece, and it's taken me 2 days to get to this point where it's now all connected. I'm not going to go run out and fly it right now because I'm stressed. So I'm going to shut everything down, let it all cool down, get all my batteries and everything recharged, and then I'll head out into the field to do the first flight with the goggles on the one-handed joystick style controller. These things are amazing. I mean, we got a little joystick action there. We got a trigger. We've got the red button is your takeoff and land. And not only that, but on the side of these DJI goggles too, that's a touchpad. So that's basically like a mouse pad to control everything that you see in the goggles. Once I get ready to go out in the field and do my first flight, hopefully I'll catch all the recordings from the goggles and we can see everything that's going on. I'm pretty excited.